In April 2026, the United States military launched Operation Epic Fury against the Iranian regime. The offensive spanned the entire region, coordinating air, land, and sea assets to aggressively dismantle the enemy's infrastructure. At sea, tens of thousands of sailors and Marines deployed to enforce a strict maritime blockade in the Gulf of Oman, cutting off access to Iranian ports. On April 3, the broad theater focus violently narrowed when enemy forces breached American air superiority. An American F-15E Strike Eagle went down over hostile territory. In an instant, a massive strategic offensive became a highly localized crisis. 2 airmen ejected from their damaged fighter jet and landed deep inside a contested, active war zone. They were completely isolated and surrounded by enemy patrols actively hunting for them. If Iranian forces reached them first, the airmen would become high-value prisoners of war, granting the regime immense political leverage. If the U.S. military took too long to organize an extraction, the crew would succumb to the harsh environment and enemy pursuit. The moment their parachutes deployed, a critical 48-hour survival window opened. This forced a real-world stress test of the military's strict rule against leaving a warfighter behind. Organizing a combat search and rescue mission over Easter weekend required cutting through massive logistical friction. The Iranian military operated on its own soil, utilizing established supply lines and deep radar networks. To counter this, the U.S. relied on global integration. Extracting the individuals required linking disparate joint force elements into a single unit. The intelligence network pulled vast data streams through this hub, isolating their exact coordinates without tripping Iranian radar. As soon as the grid was locked, combat aircraft pushed forward to aggressively suppress Iranian anti-air batteries, carving out a temporary secure corridor through the airspace. The rapid mobilization demonstrates how the military can integrate its high-level assets to protect individual service members during an active conflict. On the ground, the timeline was rapidly shrinking. Iranian patrols were closing the distance to the isolated crash site. American specialized recovery teams breached the airspace, descending through the weather and into the rugged terrain at high speeds to reach the targeted coordinates. The extraction teams touched down, established an immediate defensive perimeter against approaching enemy forces, and loaded both airmen onto the extraction vehicles. The airmen were secured and moved out of hostile territory within the 48-hour window identified as critical for their survival.
3 days later, on April 6th, the public learned of the operation during a press conference at the White House. President Donald J. Trump addressed the nation, praising the military for the precise, flawless execution of the Easter weekend rescue mission. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth outlined the broader implications, stating that the successful extraction under fire proved the U.S. was making decisive offensive progress against the Iranian regime. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, specifically commended the specialized troops who executed the mission. The highest levels of command recognized the extreme on-the-ground risks taken to achieve the extraction. Beyond the geopolitical metrics, those 48 hours carried a very specific meaning for the internal culture of the armed forces. Senior enlisted advisor to the chairman, David L. Issam, has previously stated that the absolute foundation of joint force lethality is the warfighter.
And the foundation of the warfighter is trust. When 2.8 million active service members and civilians see the military rapidly mobilize its vast resources to save 2 of their own, it fortifies that trust. It proves the institutional vow is real. The rescue was a tactical success within Operation Epic Fury, but for the millions watching, it was the fulfillment of the most basic commitment the military makes to its people. If you go down, we are coming to get you.